Shane, for those people who aren't familiar with your music, and the audience, even though we have a lot of Screamin Cyn Cyn the Pons fans tonight, right? Describe a typical Screamin Cyn Cyn and the Pons show to the audience.
Well, if you're lucky, we'll get through the whole set, having played all the songs we intended to, and you won't see either of my balls. That happens about 1 in 3 times, usually.
What have been some of the most unusual acts you played with?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is we had a show when we toured through a suburb of Cleveland called Elyria, Ohio, on our first tour. We played on a bill that had a pop punk band, a cover band, just like they covered Radiohead and Jewel, and they had a girl who, before the show, she'd come up to us and been like, "It's awesome to see a girl in rock and roll, because I'm a rockin' girl, and it's good to see rock and roll girls." And they only brought out the girl for the Jewel cover. And she had a really bad voice, and she did that thing where she was like, "Who will save your soul?" And she held it for like 10 minutes, and the crowd was like, yeah.
There are big Jewel fans in Elyria.
There are, and we also, at the same bill, we also played with a Christian jam band. And
the same bill.
This is all the same bill. This is at a youth center in Elyria, Ohio, and believe it or not, the Christian jam band was like far and away the best band.
The Christian jam band.
They had their CDs. They had their CDs at their merch table lined up in the shape of a cross. And we had a blow up doll called Peter Pecker who had a 12-inch.
Now I don't normally go for that sort of PG-13 stuff like that, but was his genitalia in the shape of a cross?
You know, no, it wasn't, but it had a prominent seam that went along the whole thing, so it was not anatomically correct. But they asked us to hide first they asked us to deflate it, and we were like, sorry, that's our mannequin for our merch. And they asked us to tuck his wang, like, under the shirt that he was on, so he was sitting there.
So, you already mentioned one, you've toured around a lot with that. What other adventures have you had on the road?
I think probably my favorite show that we've played was when we were in Tulsa, Oklahoma. When we book tours, it's like you basically just dip really deep into your social network. We were like, oh, I met this friend who said he had been to Tulsa, so let's see if they have a friend. And then they'll call their friends in Tulsa and they'll set something up. So this girl was like, oh yeah, we have a show for you in Tulsa, definitely. So we show up and the first thing that happens is like they're like, have 7 beers, and they're all like smoking 9 cigarettes. And this girl's like, guess what, y'all? I'm kicking heroin today. And like everyone, and you know, I was like, oh dear, but everyone else that we were staying with there was like, we know what that's like, girl. That's rough. So we got really drunk, and then we found out that the show that they had set up for us was Goth Night at the Leather Bar in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Big leather crowd in Tulsa?
You know, there wasn't a big leather crowd that night. There were about 5 leather people, leather men. There weren't any women. There was all leather men. It was leather men. About 5 leather men, and then there's a lot of goths in Tulsa. Or, you know, what I really think was the case is that because it was like anyone who didn't fit in was just at the leather bar. So there were all the goths were at this bar for that night, which is sort of a mixed blessing. But like they had a men's room, and then they had a unisex bathroom. So that's where Cynthia and I changed, and they had glory holes between the stalls. So Cynthia and I got to be like, hi.
Well, that's what they're for.
Exactly, for waving hello to your girlfriend.